right talent to accelerate growth. Can I ask you guys for a big pre-lunch round of applause, please, for Agustín and his panel? Yay!
Thank you for that. Well, first of all, I present myself. I'm Agustín Rotondo. I'm the country manager for Wayra in Argentina. I believe you all know what Wayra is. Just a few minutes ago, Marcia told you about it. But we're here today to speak about talent, such an interesting and important topic, and with such an interesting and important people here to share their knowledge. So I would like to each of you to introduce yourself in some minutes. First, Jennifer Kanimimwa. Jennifer is the Senior Strategy and Operations Manager of Twitter. Can you share with us what you do?
Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Kanyamibwa. So as he mentioned, I'm a senior strategist and operations leader at Twitter for the product design team. And what that means is I don't actually design, but I think about the mechanisms that are needed to facilitate good design critiques, the kind of tooling that is needed to build products and to build experiences on Twitter that really enhance the experience for users all over the world. And I also work with a user research team, so to analyze how users are using our product so that as we do the UI, UX, we're constantly thinking of how to innovate. Prior to Twitter, I was at Slack. At Slack, I was a brand design studio manager, so I was on the founding team that took Slack international to Spain, to Japan, to Germany, and to France from a branding and communication design standpoint. And many moons ago, I also worked in government, so I love visiting different cities and seeing how cities are partnering with innovation leaders to foster connections for the next generation to come. I worked in New York City's mayor's office in the Bloomberg administration, and I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Such an impressive CV. Well, then we got Yuval Avni. Yuval is the co-founder and partner from Swanlaab, and he's also a doctor. That's also really impressive. So,
hi everybody, hola. So I'm Yuval, indeed I'm the co-founder and partner in Swanlaab. Apparently they don't hear me, or now it's okay?
Okay.
Very well. So I'm the co-founder and partner of Swanlaab. Swanlaab is an early stage Madrid-based fund. Although I'm not Spaniard, I'm Israeli by origin. It's a joint venture between a team from Israel and a team from Madrid. And we are looking for B2B enterprises here in Spain, all around Spain. Already invested in more than 9 companies and been active here very much. So I'm a VC in Israel as well. I manage a fund in Israel. And prior to me managing a fund, I manage a company. And prior to that, I was a surgeon. So I've been around, and I bring a bit of a diverse background to my investment team as well.
Thank you very much, Yuval. Then we got Sophie Bruchou. She's French, that's why the Bruchou. And Sophie is from IdInvest. She's the leader of the Spanish markets. So.
Yeah. So hi everyone. So just like you said, I work for IdInvest Partners. I've been there for 3 years. I'm an investment manager, and I'm in charge of scouting in Spain. So a little bit about IdInvest. So we are the largest French VC. We're also one of the largest in Europe. We invest all across Europe, but the entire investment team is based in Paris. We invest from C to Series C, with tickets going from 1 million to 30 million euros. And we are completely industry agnostic, so we invest in both B2B and B2C. Actually, in Spain, we've been pretty active with the most active non-Spanish fund in Spain. So we've backed companies in the likes of Glovo, 21 Buttons, OnTruck, Social Points, etc.
Thank you very much, Sophie. And last but not least, we got Anne-Christine Roope.
Yeah.
Founder and CEO of IdInvest Partners.
Yeah. Yes, so as Agustín mentioned, I'm founder and CEO of IdInvest Partners. So we do executive search. We focus on C-level, VP, and director level roles for tech startups, typically post-Series A companies that are either looking to strengthen their C-level management team or enter new markets and looking for senior management in the new markets. We've worked with more than 150 companies. So we started and worked with companies like Uber, Airbnb, Zomato, and House. supporting them with their international rollouts. So yeah, attracting talent, that's definitely something that I work with on a daily basis. And prior to starting, so I started Ethan Partners myself 7 years ago. Prior to starting Ethan Partners, I was head of co-founder and senior executive recruiting for Rocket Internet, where I was responsible for about 75 portfolio companies in 50 countries. So I did a lot of their international rollouts back in the day.
Thank you very much. And well, I told you it was a very good and impressive panel. So let's start with Jennifer. And I would like to start speaking a little bit about building a team. And from your experience in Twitter and also in Slack, which are the main skills that you look for in people when you are looking for building a team?
Well, one thing that I think is interesting is if I speak about my time at Slack, a lot of us, we were the first in our role, the first to do anything and everything. We all came from very different backgrounds, but we really had to trust each other. So I think the first thing is you look for people who are open to trust, because you can't make it work if you are not someone that's open to trust. I think there's also a sense of resiliency. You can tell resiliency by someone's story, how they present themselves, what kind of person they are when things are not going well. I'm actually more interested in people telling me about harder times than good times and everything was great and we accelerated and we grew and then it was Series A, B, C, and then everyone got, I'm more interested in what happened maybe during a gap in your resume. How did you bounce back from that? Or how do you approach situations where you don't think the same as everyone else, but you still have to work for the same goal? So it's really, for me, I think it's a trust. I think there is a sense of resiliency. And I think that the final thing is, when I think about my team at Twitter, it's this idea of continuing to be open. It's very easy to be in a company that's been around for a long time to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So you have to be around people who are open to change. Change can be very scary, but if you want your product or if you want your company to grow, then you have to constantly be thinking about ways to innovate and not get comfortable. So people who are very, very open to getting outside of their comfort zone.
Well, amazing approach. Thank you very much. And Yuval, I would like also to know your what do you think about it from your VC point of view? What do you look for in a CEO or in a C-level manager from a startup?
First of all, we look for teams. We don't just look for a CEO or for one C-level. We prefer to invest in teams. And it's very important because nobody is perfect. Nobody can cover all of the aspects. So we look for teams that one can complement one another. One very important thing that we need to have is that any of the C-level must have domain expertise, but he master of his domain. If I meet a CEO as a potential investment and I know something about his industry better than him, most probably I shouldn't invest in him. So they must be master of the domain in a sense that they know everything. They know what's happening, how they came around, what their competitors are doing, etc. That's from the knowledge, the domain that they must have. On the other hand, we are going to team up with them. We're going to be partnering with them. So we need somebody that we can speak in the same level, share the same values in a sense. So it's something that it has to be an all-around player, an all-around team that eventually can complement one another, really know their domain, and eventually we can correlate to them on a personal level and eventually team up with them. So in a sense, that's what we're looking for.
Wow, amazing. So we're speaking about values, about knowledge, knowing deeply about the area of expertise. And also you mentioned resilience, which is very important, and being open. Just some highlights of the things we're saying. And also, Christine, I would like to know, your approach, because when a startup knows what are the skills that they need, how can they do to attract the talent being a startup? Because it's not easy, they are competing with other big companies. And which is the typical package or things that the startup offer to maybe a C-level or anyone joining the company to attract that very interesting profiles?
Yeah. So I think it really depends on the stage of the company. If a company is very early stage and around seed stage, you're not attracting people with salary. That's not going to happen. So initially, it is hiring mainly through your own network. And then as the company grows, it's then expanding. Another thing I would also say is initially, companies hire generalists and also often quite young employees who have less experience but also have lower salary expectations. And some even, a lot of startups are also built by using interns and a lot of student workers to support that growth. So it really depends on the stage. Initially, it's your own network. And then I would say as soon as you're past Series A, that's when you should start to professionalize the team and look at hiring more specialists for the different roles. And again, even by Series A, it's seldom that companies are attracting the best talent based on compensation package, because you're still not able to compete with the large, with later stage companies or even corporate companies. So it's much more hiring based on the vision and the mission of the company, what you're trying to achieve, the whole goal of the company, and being able to attract people that want to take part of what the company is trying to achieve and also be part of that journey, of that growth journey. So it's hiring people, you're able to hire talent through basically convincing them in what you believe in why you are why you started the company. And when I say why you, I'm talking about the founders. Why did the founders decide to start the company, and then why did the investors decide to invest? So I think initially it's really good to talk internally, but also talk to the investors of what is the potential of the company, what are we trying to achieve, and then make sure to convey that. And you do have to paint a bigger picture in terms of attracting talent. And then also in the early stage, it is also just about chemistry. Is it people? Is it candidates that you want to
falling
work
in love,
with?
you mean?
Yes,
Something
exactly.
like that. Okay.
Exactly. Hiring in the early stage of a startup, it's a bit like dating. You have to spark an interest, get someone interested in the company. Of course, you do have to do research in terms of what are the market salary levels and compensation packages in general, and then see, it's not that you have to necessarily match them, but you have to offer something within reason. And of course, a lot of startups, they do also offer, stock options or different plans. It could also be a bonus structure when certain KPIs are met. So of course, it really varies. There's no one, salary or package. But I think it is also about being a bit realistic compared to what other companies are offering as well. But initially, you have to sell the dream, I would say, to attract talent.
Thank you very much. Well, Sophia, I'm not forgetting about you. Can you share with us which is the role of a VC in terms of helping a startup in the recruiting process? How much you get involved there?
Yeah. So obviously it's a question we get asked a lot because we're living a time where successful entrepreneurs get to pick which VCs they will take their money from. So HR, of course, is a topic where we try to get involved. So what we see with a good early stage VC is that they try to be really hands-on. So sometimes they even hire a full-time person in-house to help with the sourcing of candidates and also the interview and the selection of the candidates. IdInvest, we can't do that because I think for later stage VCs it's a bit trickier because you hire, basically you invest in companies all across with different geographies, different industries. So it wouldn't be scalable to hire one person that would be able to hire any kind of talents across any kinds of geographies and with a different level of seniority. So the way we help companies at IdInvest is first we help entrepreneurs come up with a hiring plan that makes sense. And then we have them define better what types of profile in terms of seniorities should be looking for according to the stage where they're at. And then where we help the most, I believe, is through our networks. So through our network, we're able to sometimes spread the word and source some candidates. But to be fair, it's very challenging, so it doesn't happen a lot. Where we help is actually by letting companies know which talent search firm they should work with. And that's not a minor help because first, the best executive search firm, they get a lot of requests. And some of them, they will not work with you unless you get some serious funding with VCs that they usually work with. So we help them save a lot of time identifying which talent search they should work with, and then we connect them with them. And then the last part where we help is during the selection. Sometimes we get involved, once the company has identified a couple of top candidates, we have them interviewing them, not only to help them select, but also sometimes we step in to convince the candidates to join the company. And obviously we help by giving the money and giving a strong brand for the company to attract talents.
Okay, so it's very relevant to help the company to find out what's the profile they really need, and then to help them to fall in love with the company.
And actually, sorry, just to comment to that, in terms of attracting talent, because we partner up with a lot of VCs, and it does really help in terms of attracting talent if you can get the investors involved or if you can get external experts involved in the hiring process. So if the candidates also get to speak to the investors, then the investors can also help sell the position as well, but also make the position, the company, a bit more valid as well, help validate the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Well, Jennifer, we have been discussing a little bit about attracting talent, but what about retaining it? What about when you already have, as a startup or as a company, the talent there? What can you do to retain it and to make the people stay with you?
I think it's about giving people the right type of growth opportunities. I think a lot of times, especially in our industry, which is innovative, people kind of stretch themselves pretty quickly. It's really about having the opportunity to continue to grow and not to be caught up in anything that's very routine. Especially if you're in a startup, usually you can wear many hats. So if you want to, for example, learn the business side, you should have that opportunity to maybe work on a project where you can learn a skill set that you never had before. I think it's also important in order to keep talent to really think about people's strengths and weaknesses and really focus on the weaknesses actually and see how can this opportunity actually enable you to work on your weakness and partner with someone where that's their strength and to learn from each other. So having a very collaborative type of atmosphere really keeps people coming back and really excited about the work. Once the work becomes a little bit too siloed and it becomes maybe you're just doing your one function, it's hard to kind of have that innovative spirit. That's why a lot of people gravitate towards startups. So if you are a startup, you should be kind of selling that. 'Cause at some point, your company becomes so big that you hire one person to do one little function. And that's really how some of these companies start to scale. So if you're a startup, an attractive point is the fact that you could do so many things. For example, I'm not a designer, but I learned so much about UI, UX because I was in the founding team working with designers. Or, I'm not someone that codes by any means, but hey, I understand a little bit now because we were a startup and we all sat close to each other. We all all of our work was just so interdependent. So just kind of keeping things interesting, allowing people to stretch themselves, and really building a community that fosters collaboration.
Okay, so it's very important to share with the team how much they can learn in that position, and that's maybe the most attractive thing of working in a startup.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And Yuval, from your experience about the Israeli ecosystem, that we all know that it's amazing and growing fast and very, very much developed. Can you give us any advice in terms of attracting talent that you want to share with us?
So I just had a talk with some locals here about where the European industry is heading, what is happening in Israel. What happened in Israel is that we spoke about salaries. Salaries are now skyrocketing and are almost matching the US. And one of the reasons is that we have more than 300 centers or R&D centers of big American and European companies in Israel. And they want to attract the talent more than the startups. So they pay more and more. So now the startup need to fight with them. And it's a trend that I see that is starting in Europe as well, that salary is starting to go up, the more the industry is becoming more advanced. One of the things that I learned that can help you deal with that as a startup, and again, take from the Israel side, first of all, is try to find somebody that can, again, correlate to your values, but moreover, can relate to the story. So you need a co-founder, even if it's 20 people. All of the 20 people, when you start a company at early stages, should be like co-founders. They feel that this is like a life mission to them. Then it will be much easier for you to excel and to eventually take each one of those, and I'm now referring to what Jennifer said, each one of those early employees eventually will be the managers when the company will excel and will grow. And again, looking at Israel, something which is very unique to Israel is that everybody knows everybody. It's like a small swamp. And it's very easy to get a referral, but moreover, if you work for somebody and you didn't do a good job, most probably it will be very hard for you later on to find the next job. So in Israel, many people try the best to be the best in order to get the next job, not just the job they are doing now. And it's something that it's very unique to Israel. But again, when I look at, for instance, in Spain, the startup industry in Spain is still very small. So like South Summit, you meet once in a while, and you have to remember that your reputation will follow you. So it's another advice that I think one should follow.
Very good one.
I think just to add a little bit of what you were saying, I read a really interesting article this morning in Bloomberg, and one of the things that I think in the European market and closer to this side of the world is this idea of equity. I know it's not the easiest because there are a lot of laws and tax laws that have to do with people's salaries and keeping certain numbers in check, but equity is important. If you are a startup and you're thinking of attracting talent, you may not be able to pay people top salaries, but if they have a stake in your company, they feel like they have ownership, that is really a great foundation to keep folks there, because then you really feel like you're being invested in, and this is like it's also your company. I know it's harder because different countries have different, tax implications, but as innovation becomes more of a hot topic for cities and for countries, it's definitely something that VCs and folks that are entrepreneurs and kind of sitting at the table with lawmakers need to kind of keep pushing for.
Absolutely agree. Thank you very much. Well, Sophie, and what about the typical mistakes that startups often do in terms of attracting talent and recruiting?
Yeah.
What can you share with us?
So actually, very recently, we interviewed all our portfolio companies to understand how they were sourcing candidates. And it turns out like there's no silver bullets. So like one mistake that some companies do is not diversifying enough their channel to source candidates. So of course you have to work with the right talent search firms. But it's also important to for example, ask for your employees to spread the word about the job offers and recommend some employees. So really diversify your channels. To go back on your point, so I think referrals is something we do really bad in Europe because we don't have a strong tradition when it comes to referrals. So because we learned from the US that you should get reference on the employees. Some companies they try to do that, but they do it in a terrible way. So how they do it is they ask the candidates what would be the people they should reach out to get reference, and then they basically just send an email and ask, okay, how was the candidate? It's something terrible. It's completely useless. How you should do it is get backdoor reference. So this is when, for example, VCs can be very helpful because we have the network to potentially get those backdoor reference. And then you pick up your phone, don't write emails, it's useless. People will never trash anyone over mail. So you really, you ask over phone, and you really ask specific questions to really validate the quality that you want to make sure the candidate has. And another thing I think that company gets wrong sometimes is when they get their own employee involved in the recruitment process of executives, they don't take the time to train employees to conduct proper job interview. So most of the time, and I mean, prior to IdInvest, I was a product manager, so I had to interview my CPO as well. And the thing is, most of the time, it ends up with the employee just trying to assess whether they get along or not with their potential boss, and that's not how they should conduct the interview. So one recommendation would be take a consultant, to train your employee to be able to conduct proper job interview.
Thank you very much, Sophie. And finally, Christine, any final advice or something that you want to share with the audience to close this wonderful panel that we have been?
Where to start? No, I think something that's very important when hiring is also go out there and learn from others who have done it before. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they try to learn things themselves or try things themselves from scratch. Whereas, you can save a lot of time and resources if you go out there and meet other companies that are either in similar industries or just have experienced an impressive growth trajectory and find out what have they done and learn from others. And also when you are hiring, go out and spread the word. I've met companies that have lots of openings, but no one knows about it. You can't see it on their website. They're not posting on social media. They don't have job ads. I think, I don't know if they're expecting candidates to just, apply. Yeah. But you have to really go out there and spread the word. But definitely learn from others, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And also if you do get investors on board, ask them as well for recommendation referrals. So don't. I think a lot of people they see it as a weakness, or to ask questions, but it's really a strength that will save you a lot of time and effort.
So spread the word, guys.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
thank you very much.
I can't